Hello, my name's James Stanbridge, and in today's course I'm going to teach you the real basics of getting going with online conferencing. Here we go. Right, well, the very first thing that we need to do is to go and sign ourselves up for a video conferencing service. I'm going to show you a couple. My personal favorite is Zoom, really easy to remember. It's zoom.us or Zoom Us. But another very popular one would be Google's Hangouts. They offer you pretty much similar services, so we're going to just look at these two for now. So here's Zoom. We accept the cookies, and you can straight away join a meeting that somebody might already have sent you for Zoom. If they've done that, you'll see in the meeting invitation that you've been sent the URL Zoom Us, and you can follow that link and it probably brought you to a page like this. So as I said, you can straight away go ahead and join a meeting, or you can set up to host your own meeting with or without video, and I almost always recommend that you use video for a very simple reason, that we're human beings and we really like to see who we're talking to. So it's a very similar deal for Hangouts. Indeed, Skype, I could show you plenty of these as well. What you can't do with Hangouts, though, is go straight in to join a meeting. You need to do an installation first. So I'm going to go ahead and get the install running here. And it's asking me if I've got a Google account that I want to use to run that with, and I do. So I'll go and show you that in just a minute. So there's a few interesting reasons why I recommend Zoom. It's in the leading quadrant in terms of all video conferencing suppliers. So that's a really good reason. But this is the other, which is that there are so many different ways that you can connect using Zoom. You can connect it onto your laptop, your Mac, your Windows PC, your iPad, your Android devices, and you can buy these specialist Zoom pieces of equipment should you wish to, but you don't need any of those. The beautiful thing is that Zoom will just run on just about any device that you have, and that can be incredibly useful. I've been delayed for meetings, but I've been able to join straight in because I've been able to dial in using a mobile phone, for example. It's not ideal, but when you get to a place where you're more comfortable to be in the meeting, it at least makes that joining that meeting possible for you. All right, so let's sign in now. And as I said to you, you don't need to sign in order to join a Zoom meeting, but let's assume that you've made a decision here that you want Zoom and video conferencing to be a part of your life. So it makes perfect sense to have an account and sign in. And we're only going to use the free tier. Last I looked, it was around £11 a month if you want to host really big conference calls yourself, but that's not really the purpose of this training. This is about just getting involved in a call, probably just making a one-to-one or something like that. So there are a few choices. You can sign in using an email address and password, something that we're all familiar for doing. You can also use one of your social media accounts if you're happy with that, and I'm pretty happy with that, so I'm going to sign in with my Google account. This browser has remembered my Google account as james@purposebridge.uk. Yours will probably have done that for you as well, but don't worry if it hasn't. You can easily use the email and password to create an account, as I showed you just before. So I'm going to click here just to set my account up and agree to those terms. And now let's see what we've got here. So again, they're giving you various different solutions, plans and pricing, but again, what we're going to worry about here is just hosting, is just simply joining a meeting, and then I'll talk to you about how you host your own meeting as well. All right, now I'm going to use a meeting request that is actually from myself, but let's not worry about that. Let's assume that somebody has sent you a Zoom meeting. Again, this would be exactly the same with Hangouts or with Skype. If you've been invited to a conference, you will have been sent a meeting URL. So here it is again. This is what I've been sent. So in order to join a meeting now, I can follow this link, which will ask me to fill in the details of the meeting that I've been requested to join. And here are the numbers: 3030265845. So if I click join, something very interesting will happen now. And what will happen now is that the browser asks if I want to open Zoom meetings. That's because I've got the application installed on my computer and on my device. Again, I completely recommend that you do that. And if you haven't done it already, then it's pretty easy to do. As part of the sign up, you'll be encouraged to download that app and make sure that you've done it on any device that you want to use. Sign in with the same credentials and away you go. So yeah, I'm happy to open my Zoom meeting. It'll take a few seconds to fire up, and here it is. Now, I've opened this meeting assuming that I haven't been in a call before, so I've got lots of things to set up first. So this is my meeting panel, and I can maximize this so that it's taking up all of my desktop now. And again, let's just talk about some things that are really common to all video conferencing. One thing that might spook you a little bit though, I've just left my mouse doing nothing, and you'll see that the screen has become I've lost all of my control buttons, but all I need to do is just move my mouse again, and here we are, all of the things that I might want to do, like invite somebody, see who the participants are, share something, chat with them, or record. They all pop up again, as does the mute and the start video button. But again, if I leave the mouse now, and this is pretty convenient. You don't really need those buttons all the time. You just want to be able to focus on what's happening on the screen. So here you can see that I'm now able to do that, and I've still got things like the invitation URL. So I've got some sense of where I am and what's going on. Now, the first thing that happens in any conference call is that everyone will say, can anybody hear me? Is there anybody there? Something like that. And absolutely nobody will be able to hear me. So I may well be able to hear some audio, but I'm certainly not joining in at this point, because you can see with this slash through here that I'm actually currently on mute. Now, something else that's very important to notice is that next to the unmute button, there's this up arrow, which really is a way of indicating that there's a lot more options going on here. Now, when you first start to use Zoom, one of the first things that will happen is that you have either the wrong microphone or the wrong speaker, or something isn't right. So everybody should have a trial meeting just so that you can set this out for yourself. Now, these are the microphones that I have on my system. You may not have more, you may have many more than this, but I'm hoping you'll be able to figure out which speaker, which microphone is the one that you actually want to use here. I'm using the microphone that is associated with my webcam, and why not? In terms of speaker, I'm using a desk speaker right in front of my laptop here, which is my Polycom, but I've got a few other choices that I could be using here as well. And if you're really not sure, then just click same as system, and that'll use your default choices. But I also get a great opportunity to test my speaker and my microphone, and if I've joined the call both on a computer and from a phone, then I can just switch to my phone audio. But these are the first area to look into to troubleshoot that you've got the right microphone and the right speaker running. And now for video, very similar. I have a few different choices for cameras. You may have one, you may have none, you may have as many as I have here. So I can choose my webcam, my front camera on my laptop, a lot of different things I can choose over here, and I'm actually going to choose to use the webcam on my desk. There's also for those of you that really want to have some fun, you can choose a virtual background. So instead of whatever is in the office or is behind you at the moment, you can choose the San Francisco Bridge, some grass, you can be out of space, and this is the logo from Purpose Bridge. So I've uploaded my own background, and that makes it quite fun, should you wish. Not necessarily the most professional of things to do, but it certainly livens up meetings where that's appropriate. I'm going to go with none for the moment. That suits me today. So what else have we got on this screen here? Well, I can actually invite a few other people to come and join this meeting right from within this context. So a click here will bring up a join dialogue. I can use my default email to send somebody. I can send them a Gmail, a Yahoo mail, but probably the most useful thing, honestly, is to copy the meeting URL and send it to them in a text message or some other messenger, just to get people along, because if you're inviting them and the meeting's already started, you probably want them right away. All right, then this share option is something that you will see a lot or use a lot in your online conferencing. It makes conferencing so interactive and useful. And what share will allow me to do is it brings me all of the applications that are currently open on my in my context. So I have 3 screens running at the moment. I've got what's going on screen 1, what's going on screen 2. We can have a look at what's on screen 3. I can create a whiteboard. I can use an iPhone device if I want to share that. And then I've got the individual applications that are running. So I might not want to share an entire desktop. I might just want to share a single screen, a single application. So I've got all of those options here, and simply all I do, I'm going to create a whiteboard here. I'm going to say that I want to share that. Now, here's my whiteboard. Now you can see that I have a pencil, so I can draw on here. I'm not sure why anyone would want to do that seems quite clunky, but there's a lot more that we can do with this whiteboard, including create another page over there. So if it suits you, then fine, that's a great thing you can do. Maybe you want to really just, you're one of those people that loves to do diagrams, so we can just do something. So you can see I'm never going to be employed as a graphics designer, but never mind, there we go. That's what a whiteboard can do for you. All right, and everybody in the meeting will get that whiteboard. That's really the purpose of it. Okay, let's look at the chat window now. So Zoom group chat, this means that I can either chat to an individual or to everybody in the meeting, or I can even upload a file. So if I want somebody to read some notes that I made, or to see a picture that I've made, then I can upload a file, or I can just type a message in here. Has anyone seen Dave today? Don't know who Dave is, but there we go. And here we are. Then everybody in the group chat will see this because I sent it to everybody. When there are 2 or 3 other people are joining the meeting, I can choose to just send the chat to an individual or to carry on talking to everybody. Now this can be really useful. Let's say that Dave is presenting and Dave has gone onto his soapbox and isn't really listening to any questions. Then one of the things I can do here is just say, Dave, can I ask a question now? And hopefully Dave will see that and be quite keen to talk to me. Right, let's talk now about what happens if you actually want to host a meeting. Well, we've been through joining a meeting. What we can do right now is to host a meeting that is starting right now. But I will quickly just show you what happens if you want to schedule a meeting at some point in the future. So we will give the meeting a name. So let's say James and Julie on using Canva. So my guest has some idea what this meeting is going to be about. We've covered Insta. Now let's design LinkedIn profile. Fairly obvious what you're going to do with the calendar. So this is a meeting that I want to hold tomorrow, 10 o'clock. It's going to last an hour. Just do watch that if you have more than 3 participants, you can't have a meeting that's longer than 40 minutes without upgrading, but 40 minutes is a pretty good timeline for most meetings anyway. I'm just going to make sure that I'm in the right time zone. That's an easy mistake to make. So let's just go to London, which is the time zone that I'm in. It's not a recurring meeting, it's just a one-off. Now I can require that every meeting has a password. That's completely up to you and your level of paranoia. I certainly don't need one for this one. I can now set some parameters such as, do I want my video on when I'm joining? Well, I have no problem to that, but just remember that does mean that as soon as you've got any participants, they can see you because your camera's on. So if you're somebody who likes to get themselves settled and set up a few other things first, then leave this as off. I think it's polite to leave the participant video as off as the default because they may not realize that it's on. So I think this is just a polite thing to do. Audio, while I always prefer computer audio, it's going to be better every single time. However, again, it might be polite just to leave it as both. You don't know where your meeting participants are, and it might be convenient for them to be dialing in, not using computer, and this will give them some other options as well. So let's have a look. Would we like a meeting participant to be able to join before the host is come along? Well, I've got no issue with that at all. But again, some people don't like meetings to start before they're there, but that's not me. Mute participants on entry. Well, if you're going to, this is a really good practice, by the way, because it stops all of the, can anyone hear me? Can anyone hear me? The only problem is that no one will know that they're muted on entry unless you've been very clear that this is your normal practice. A waiting room allows people to join, but to be parked in a waiting room before you actually start the meeting. And you have the option to record the meeting automatically on the local computer. This is a really good idea if you have people that need the content from your meeting but are not necessarily going to be able to join at the time that you have the meeting on. They can enjoy a full recording in video of what happened at the meeting. So if that works for you, then here's where you record the meeting automatically on your local computer. So there we go. That's all we need to do. We can save that we have created this new meeting. And you'll see there's a few options that I've got now. I can add it to my calendar, whichever one I'm using there. And I can now also copy this invitation and send it in email to whoever it is that I want to join this meeting. But what Zoom has done is to cover the fact that this is the meeting we're going to hold and at a particular time, so that's all set for you. So that's how we schedule that meeting. Now we're going to go and actually host the meeting. So let's go over here, and we're going to host a meeting right now with the video on. It's going to ask us if we want to open that in the application just as before. And here we go. This should look extremely familiar because it is exactly the same as if we were joining a meeting. We've still got the option to start the recording should we wish to at this point. We've got the option to chat, to share, and all of the things that we can. There is one slight change, which is as the host of this meeting, we can either say only one participant can share at a time or multiple participants can share simultaneously. If we click the simultaneous button, then 3 or 4 different screens will pop up with each person sharing. Quite useful if you're teaching something and you just want to see how people are getting on their desktop. I can see the participants, and I can invite somebody else to join should I wish to do that. All right, there we have it. That's hosting on Zoom.